Hello and welcome. Can media literacy reconstruct trust in a world of the media prosumer? That's the question we're going to ask today of Rosemary Smith, who's in interaction with me today. Rosemary Smith is the managing director of Getting Better Foundation, which is based in Montana, but it's got its footprints all over. She has been the vice president of sales at Eagle Radio Group in Michigan. And above all, she is the producer of the award-winning documentary, Trust Me. Now, therefore, I guess we couldn't have a person who's better equipped to tell us all about trust. And therefore, I want to welcome Rosemary and jump right into the question, I guess. Rosemary, are you happy with the kind of trust that we're seeing in media literacy reconstruct? Trust in a world where it seems that on the one hand, we don't have just a media consumer anymore, we have a media prosumer, which is a producer and a consumer. How do you reconstruct trust? And or do we, as your documentary says, say, trust me?
Thank you, Shashi. And before we start, I would please like to just give kudos and the proper credit to our executive producer of the film and the CEO of our Getting Better Foundation. His name is Joe Phelps. He's the executive producer and the visionary behind the film and the Getting Better Foundation. And then Rocco Bellic is our director. He's an Oscar-nominated director. And our producers actually carry so I want to make sure that it's clear that I'm the impact producer, which is a little bit different than the actual producer of the film, but just to of course be empirical truth, because we're talking about trust, sure that we're very clear on that. But the question, Shashi, you couldn't be asking a better question about utilizing media literacy to rebuild trust and resilience, well-being, right? Mental well-being, and the preservation of democracy at this critical time in our lives. Trust is so fragile. Just ask any teenager who's violated his parents' trust or her parents' trust by, staying out too late over a curfew. How long does it take that teenager to rebuild that trust? Just ask a spouse who's cheated on their loved one. How long does it take to rebuild that trust? And if it can be even rebuilt, just ask a country like the Ukraine, whose borders have been violated by a trusted neighbor. Trust is so fragile and it's so precious. Mm-hmm. We are seeing that media literacy is a key to rebuilding trust. And when we do that, all of these other problems that we're seeing, the environment, healthcare, pestilence, famine, poverty, those issues can be worked on and collaborated on to be repaired. We're so smart as humans. There's such hope. And my friend Tessa Joels, who you also know, she calls me a hopeaholic. Mm-hmm. There is hope, because when we come together and when we can live in that gray area where we can consider others' opinions, and Michael Spikes talks so much about the gray area. Michael Spikes, our Media Literacy Now group. But when we can collaborate and we can consider those other opinions, that polarization between left and right, or young and old, or wealth or less than wealthy, I'd like to call it, those boundaries come down. We can collaborate on those bigger problems. We believe that media literacy is such a key that's what our foundation supports, is media literacy education. In that, we've built this advisory board of experts who agree that media literacy is a key to building trust. And they said, how are we going to share that with the mass population?
Mhm.
They're going back to school to get media literacy, right? So what about a film that brings awareness of the problems that media illiteracy causes,
Mhm.
and then one that builds empathy, because once we empathize, we can then consider those other opinions and say, I'm more like that person than I thought.
Mhm.
Once we have empathy and then provided with tools and some guidance as to how to make that happen, that's our goal behind the film. We've worked with the US State Department in Greece, in Ireland, in Romania, in Armenia, now in Portugal. We'll be working to utilize the message of the film to bring awareness, and then these critical tools written by News Literacy Project, who's a leader in Czechology and their resource for building media literacy. We're using them globally right now with the State Department. And those meetings have been amazing with teachers, with students. The students are really so wonderful. They treat us like rock stars. And what we're seeing in these Eastern European countries who have really been subjected to this onslaught of online manipulation, they're embracing these tools, and they love the work that's going on globally. I can't tell you how much that they're telling us how much they love Americans for this media literacy in their countries. And there's hope. We're seeing there's hope. So yes, I think trust can be rebuilt using these tools.
So from what I'm hearing, the rebuilding of trust using media production is where your toolkit comes in, and how that device on top of the words "trust me" in the background that you're using probably is key to what you want to achieve, right?
Yeah, media illiteracy and polarization are not new since the advent of the printing press, right? The press has been manipulated and politicized. And our goal is to lessen that polarization, remain apolitical. It doesn't matter what, if you're Democrat or Republican, or if you're, what your skin tone is, what your wealth status is, what is that we all collaborate to fix these problems that our world is facing. And that what's changed is the advent of the speed and the fact that we are all, like you said, not just consumers anymore of media, but we're now prosumers. We're now producers. We're now sharing information, and whether or not it's accurate relies on ourselves. We have to be empowered and empower ourselves to make sure it's accurate, and not only accurate, but is it the truth? Is it going to foster better relations? Is it going to build confidence, or is it going to strike someone down? And is it going to build better friendships and relationships? And
thereby a better world, right? So in terms of the media and trust, right? Like there's been a decline in people's levels of trust, and that's been declining for a while. But today we see that people are starting to use news media less. The latest cord cutting that's happening in America and other places is news, which is startling actually for the news industry for sure. But several of us who've been working with news, because that means trust and that cutting the cord are related. And therefore, this trust that we're talking about is institutional trust. And the kind of trust you want to build back is a trust by democratization of the media, because of which these folks are now prosumers, and they are the ones in whose hand institutional trust must lie. Am I right in that kind of direction?
I think so, Shashi. I think so. I think in your work, you see it as well. And in our film, we have a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. His name is Jeffrey Gettleman from the New York Times. He's currently the South Asia correspondent for Times. And he talks about that breakdown of in credible news sources, and what that's doing, and what governments will do who want to manipulate their people is they will create a mistrust in credible journalism. Why do they do that? Because they don't want the people to be empowered by the truth. They want that fighting. Vladimir Putin, God bless him. I hope he sees the light one day. Maybe he'll get a little dose of media literacy. But he loves to create that, create conflict.
Right.
That means that the people in a country are fighting amongst themselves. So they don't have time to worry about anything across the border.
That's right. I think you said something that is so important. Is one of the reasons that one of the other linkages of cutting the cord on news also has to do with relevance and how important truth is to me and how we interpret truth, right, Rosemary? I think
you're absolutely
right. Go ahead. We will take almost concluding remarks from you. I hate doing that, but it looks like we're going to run out of time sometime.
Always leave them wanting more, Shashi.
I guess.
And of course, they can learn more about our foundation at www.gettingbetterfoundation.org.
Sure.
They can learn about the film or watch the film. And if anybody hasn't seen Trust Me documentary and would like a link to screen it for their school, their university, for their own use, please feel free to reach out to me through that gettingbetterfoundation.org website. I'd be happy to. We provide scholarships if there's not a budget for screenings, but we want to get the message out there to help heal what's fracturing our world.
I can see so much passion in what you're doing, Rosemary, and I wish you and the foundation the very best in your endeavors. But thank you very much for taking the time and for your wonderful insights.
Thank you, Shashi, and thank you to IC4ML. This is an amazing global organization. And the people, when we first started this project, just really fast, when we first started this project, we were hard pressed to connect with other like-minded people, but through organizations like UNESCO and IC4ML, the International Council for Media Literacy, there is hope because there's so many people coming together to do this incredible work.
There certainly is. And thank you again, Rosemary. Have a good day.